Hello, Abnormal Investigations family. I've got another one for you. Pushing a lot of videos here lately. It's for Hunter, at bringing him home and supporting the cause. So don't forget to smash that like button for Hunter and show him that we're all supporting him. Hitting that like button supports him a whole lot. So smash that like button right now, guys. It doesn't cost a thing. And let's get these videos out there. Here's a little info about me first. I am 31 and a male. I have never been scared of the dark or been out alone in farms or fields or wooded areas until I was 13, and I still spook me to this day. So let's begin. I was 13 with my grandfather, who is known as Papa. My family and family friends. He owned a farm in West Texas in a small town. We left the house at about 6 or 7 a.m. just as the sun came up in the beginning of the spring. There was not any leaves on the trees or green grass. It was a bit cold outside at this time, so we wore our jackets to feed the cows out on the farm. As we pulled up, the cows were not waiting by the fence to get cow feed, known as cake, like they usually were. At that time, I heard a whistle that sounded familiar, similar to a white-tailed deer, but longer and kind of eerie. I looked around, feeling kind of anxious to see what the sound was, and I tugged on my papa's arm, saying, "What was that sound, Papa?" He replied with, "What sound?" I said, "It was a whistle like a deer." So he shrugged and started shaking the cake to get the cows to come, and he ended up showing but standing in the middle of the field around their calves. They would not approach the fence. The bull came rushing up and stooped a good 3 yards from the gate at the barn, looking up at the hayloft at the top of the barn, stopping its front right hoof and stirring up. It must have seen something, and it was focusing on the loft. So my papa said, "Come on, cows, come eat," and opened the gate, poured the cake in line like he usually does with the cows, watching the bull that was very used to him been around almost a tame like puppy to his owner. But the bull would not stop snorting and kicking dust, looking up at the hayloft. So I looked up at it to see where the sun was shining in the dark loft, to see something standing in it, covered in black and gray fur, standing tall enough to hunch over in a hayloft that was at least 6 foot tall, with clawed human-like hands, pointed ears, and a German shepherd-like maw over the barn doors where the trucks are. It startled me, so I kept an eye on it, only to look away as I crawled over the barbed wire fence. I said softly and hastily, in a tone, "Papa, what's that in the hayloft, looking at us, pointing at its finger? Papa, look, it's pointing at us." There was nothing there, as the sun was fully shining on the hay. My papa said, "There's nothing there." And I explained that I saw it, and he told me, you must have been tired, and the bull acting goofy must have spooked me, and I probably saw a barn owl on the hay. So we finished up the chores that morning and went back to breakfast. So that afternoon, around lunchtime, me and my cousins went out to play on the farm. When my papa and dad took us out there, I told my cousins what I saw, and that they laughed at me. So I decided to take a flashlight, climb the ladder to see if I could see anything up there. As I crawled up the ladder, I noticed a smell I've never smelt before till this day. It was like an old copper dirt or wet dog mixed with urine smell, kind of boiled eggy and, well, very strong. I shined the flashlight up, only to see the dark hair on the floor. Scared the crud out of me, so I slimmered down the ladder fast. Then I went and picked up the rocks and threw it at the hay loft to scare anything out of it, only to hear nothing but rocks hitting the floor. So I pulled out my pocket knife and forced myself to look back up there, thinking if anything came out I could stab it or cut it. Don't worry though, it was a dumb idea, and I know my pocket knife wouldn't stop a monster. But my family was weary, and they were very close. So I crawled up the ladder, peeking over to the fur to see the hay has been torn from the ropes binding it, and huge claw marks on the wall with blood and dead deer eating from face around the bone to the middle of its back, and guts all spread out. At that moment I dropped my knife, fell down the ladder, got up, and ran out of the barn, yelling at my papa and family, crying, telling them what I had saw. They believed me, but told me to stay away from the barn, and didn't even go look to see what was up there. So weeks passed by, and I heard that whistle again when I was playing on the farm. At that moment, my father and uncle were with me, and they said it was a deer. But they also told me to stay away from the barn. And I said, so why would I stay away from the barn if it's only a deer? And my grandpa said, you seen what that deer looked like in that barn loft, right? And I said, yes, Papa, I saw it. It was really bad. It was torn up everywhere. He said, do you want to look like that? If you don't want to look like that, you stay away from the barn. And I said, well, how are we safe even playing out on the farm then, Papa, if something's in the barn that's doing this? He said, it just doesn't want you around the barn. You'll be okay everywhere else out here. But if you go around the barn, you won't be safe. So for years after that, we were never allowed to play around the barn. We heard the whistles every time we were in the yard, like it was trying to call us to the barn. But we always stayed away from the barn, and to this day, nothing has happened to any of us. The whistles are still at the barn. Maybe someday I will go check it out as I'm older now, and maybe be able to get rid of this beast, or maybe it will get rid of me. But either way, I think it needs to go. It's been on our farm too long. What do you think, Mike? Is that a safe idea? I wouldn't tell you one way or the other because I wouldn't want you to get hurt. If you have a creature on your property that long, it probably feels comfortable there and feels like that's its home. I would start with lights and cameras out there and see if that could deter it or get rid of it. And if not, maybe get a hold of some investigators that do travel, or even let your local police department know and let them deal with it at night and see if they can come out and check it out and tell them you got a prowler in your barn. That's usually the best way to go about it. But thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Until next time, keep your head on a swivel, don't be something's dinner, and smash that like button for Hunter, guys. We'll see you on the next one.